is being put in its place. Because sometimes people, let's say they go through the day, things are happening, and they feel like inner turbulences inside, and they feel that everything is falling. Good afternoon, Abigail. And then comes this Melech b'mishpat Yamid, Aretz. Aretz, not just in the sense of ground or soil, but the will, because sometimes people lose hope, yes, lose direction. There is a sense of loss of hope, of direction. People going through many, many phases, or how do you say, crises in life when everything is falling. But the truth is, yes, that this is the force of gravity. We have the sense, in a way, when we walk on the ground, we have a sense of stability, but in real, it is falling all the time. But since we are moving, there's a sense of, but everything is in a way being gravitated all the time. And all the time is being renewed. So in a way, there's no falling and there's no building, the sages are saying, but we can see those things. I guess it's not too hard to understand. What do you think, Fernando?
I think that it is beautiful. Uh, it is quite beautiful and therapeutic, I would say as well, because it is not easy sometimes to connect with this perspective of the nothingness, of the complete unity, the unus mundus, or the inner sovereign in us that sees that everything is okay. So it is quite difficult sometimes to find this place, even it's been all around, but it is interesting. Yeah, I'm really thinking about it, like how to assess it. You could say something about it.
Yes, it's just like, let's take, for example, those sessions with, how do you say, meetings, let's say, with people. And when people share, let's say, that something is happening in their life, they have all kinds of things are happening. People are splitting. There's like somebody's passing away, and they sense a deep loss, or they feel destruction in their inner life when you speak to them. Let's say as a therapist, and you try to offer to them like a vast picture. This is the divine logos speaks to, let's say, human in stress or in a moment of break. So comes the divine logos. Sometimes it comes through the conversation with a therapist. You offer the one who goes through, let's say, great crisis, a broader perspective, and the parallel picture that it is possible to move. Oh, we don't do something active move. This is how life is. There's a constant, and this speech or conversation from the therapist is like a supporting skeleton, I would say. In moment of crisis, we don't need to adapt anything. It is life moving through us, but the conversation or conversation with a friend, and when we share a moment with a friend, another perspective is suddenly a beautiful place, also stable. So this is how life, in a way, built. Sometimes we're being, in a way, moved or washed from circumstances, from the daily happenings. Sometimes there's a stormy moment or stormy period, and we tend to believe that we are being swallowed by the winds of time or the winds of changes. So there is a sense of air turbulence inside, a chaotic period, but just sitting and just inside, closing the eyes, and there comes this peace that, okay, it might be that around there's a war, things are happening, breaking, moving, many things can happen, but inside there's just peace. And what is happening, so to speak, in personal, or what people used to say or to relate as individual life crisis or personal crisis, is not personal. This is just life moving in. Yes, or this is life is happening. It's not happening to me, this is life. Because all those senses of losses that we have, so to speak, is just from referring, the cognitive referring is that it is happening to me. But if this is only life which is happening, let's say now there's an autumn in the south hemisphere and the trees, some trees are losing their leaves because they're yellow or brown or red, and the season is changing. So this is part of life, that the tree who loses or is losing is ancient or burned leaves. Yes, this is autumn, and in the next spring there will be a renewal. But when we look at the tree, we tend to think, okay, this is a tree, and the tree doesn't feel what I feel. It doesn't have a story, it doesn't have a name, but it's not any difference. So what is happening through us is just sometimes losing leaves of branches, sometimes there's a cut, yes, but there's constant life happening. And this is so beautiful, because if we don't portray it as this is happening to me, or this is just life, so just another movement. And in a way, it's good that we speak about this Mishle, like proverb, because it finds a lot of peace inside. Let's say, therapist, let's say, in sessions, can offer a great peace and comfort to the patient, because we speak again, therapist and patient, we speak in this language of two, but it's a beautiful, like tent, Oel Moed, those sessions meeting together. This is an empty space, and there's like a space that, like an empty nest, that everything new can come and can be hosted in this space together. So it's a great opportunity to grow and to see different perspectives. Thank you, Fernando.
Thank you. It is beautiful, and I totally agree. Thank you.
Most welcome. Rodrigo, Abigail, do you have any questions that you would like to ask? How do you do, Rodrigo? How do you do, Abigail? Can you unmute and speak? Yes. Yes, Rodrigo?
Hello, Eti. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How do you do today?
Oh, I'm fine, Eti. Thank you very much. Hello, Fernando. Hello, Abigail. And I just opened the microphone to say that, how can I say, it's a great time to be here. And just to say hello. Today it's a beautiful day, and I listen you and Fernando said, and just to say hello, thank you to you and our friends.
Just to return to Weinreb explanation in the roots, yes, roots of the Bible, the verb falling, nafal, or let's say we can relate to nafal as falling as the power of gravity, has the same structure as language. Safa as a language, as a mean of communication, as consciousness speaks in a way. So what is the inner sovereign, Fernando? What is Melech, king? Consciousness speaks. Again, not as entity. Not as entity. Again, can you see a king as consciousness? This is the question. Do you understand the question? Rodrigo, can we replace the word king in consciousness? Can we? What do you think? Yes, yes, yes. So when we read Mishlei, Proverbs, and the verse says, Melech b'mishpat yamid aretz, king in a sentence will establish the country, the earth, the land, the will. King, so to speak, is not an entity, is consciousness. When consciousness speaks, puts everything in its place. What we say, what we sense or tend to believe, which is falling and destruction and no good, or a bad day and it should be different, and there's a chaotic sense inside, comes this beautiful proverb: consciousness. Consciousness speaks. And how consciousness speaks? Through sentences. Through sentences. So mishpat, the word mishpat in Hebrew, is not just judgment in court, because we say in English to sentence someone, yes, to such and such year in jail or so, to sentence or to decide. But mishpat is a sentence, meaning there's a flow of words that come in a certain order, and there's, so to speak, creation of meaning. So mishpat is sentence or divine logos in its way. So melech b'mishpat yamid aretz, a king in a sentence will establish the land, the will, the earth. It's basically consciousness. When consciousness speaks, everything in its place. And Weinreb, in a way, expand on this in his book Roots of the Bible, because he says, in a way, it's the same structure. Let's say the power of gravity, which we define, all of us define by falling. If we hold, let's say, a pen and we open the fingers, the pen will fall because this is gravity. And has the structure, in the language, in Hebrew, it has a structure of 3-8-5, has the same structure as language. Safa, yes, as, in a way, stream of consciousness. So, on one hand, or on one side of the river, we have this falling, which is gravity, nafal, or the nefesh. Yes, the nefesh structure again is 3-8-5. And On the other side of the river, there is consciousness speaks, Safa language as divine logos. And there is no exhaustion, let's say, in the Nefesh structure. Nefesh is the bodily part of the soul which is really connected to the lower. This is how Weinreb described it, connected to the lower part, in which in a way, blood multiples itself and so. So in the Nefesh dimension, there can be exhaustion. Yes, in Hebrew there is a term for people who are demented. Yes, demented in Hebrew, or dementia, is called in Hebrew Tshushay Nefesh, meaning people that the Nefesh is exhausted, like the pipe of behind of the car, let's say, the exhaust that takes the used gases, the oxidated. So in Hebrew there's a term for dementia, Tshushay Nefesh, that the Nefesh is exhausted. But when we speak of consciousness, it can never be exhausted. It's a spring of life, though, again, Weinreb shows it very clearly in his book. They have the same pattern. Now, if you take the Indian perspective about it, the sages about it, in a way they say there is no building and there's no falling. It's the same structure if you want to look at it. So it's again non-duality. Depends on how we look at it. Is this understood? Is it? Good morning, Felipe. Happy to see you here. Yes. Yes. You can unmute and speak, Fernando. I shall be delighted to hear you. Because those topics are very deep. If we enter in the right door and we're willing to speak about those things, it's amazing.
Betty,
Yes, I can hear.
is that I'm walking and I do not want to disturb, so because I have some noises around.
It's okay.
You can hear me well?
Very well. Yes, please say.
Okay. I found it amazing, and just one idea that came is that when we are in space and time, we are like a matrix,
Yes.
Space and time is a matrix. We can think about the axis, like when we draw the axis of space and time.
Yes.
And we have a limited view of reality. Not only because we are in space and time, but because we are vinculated in a culture with parents that teaches us many things, with many things that are related to the place where we were born, and so on and so forth. And with all these judgments, with all these preconceptions, all these things that we learn, from the environment that we are around,
Yes.
we start to close this matrix more and more, like our viewing, our vision of our perspective of the horizon becomes always shrinking, let's say, like
Yes.
in the gravity,
Yes.
It's
Yes.
always,
Yes. This is it.
It comes like what you said about dementia. The old man becomes more and more little, let's say, and with less consciousness.
Yes.
But when we have this spark of consciousness through conversation or through letting go all these judgments, prejudices, points of view, and everything, we like break this matrix somehow,
Yes. Yes.
So this is why it's so important to listen to the other, because your perspective from where one person is looking is different from mine. So it can amplify my matrix. It can break the jail, let's say. It can break
Yes,
this jail that we put, you know?
y- yes, this is it. This is it. By hosting another conversation, another perspective in our life, it just take us from our own jail, which is, in a way, this matrix that we were born into printed it. Yes? They say in Hebrew that a prisoner cannot take himself from jail. Again, a prisoner, en asir, no convict, yes, can take himself. En asir יכול להוציא את עצמו, can take himself from מבית האסורים, from the house of jail. And in a way, we are just prisoners because in a way, we tend to believe that this is it. But how it is possible when we host another perspective? Then it breaks the wall of solitude, of us being separated entities. And so this is amazing parable, Fernando, of breaking the walls of jail by hosting, by listening to another friend, to another perspective, to another way of life. This is amazing. And when we listen to another person, host another person's perspective, there is no exhaustion, because exhaustion or dementia come from dimming down more and more into gravity. And once we're listening or opening those opportunities to conversation, there is no exhaustion. There's only consciousness speaks, and there's like springs of like new life coming all the time. V'nahar yotze me'eden, and a river goes out of Eden. This is consciousness speaks. And then comes the rest of the verse, and it splits to four heads, and this is basically the matrix. First of all, v'nahar yotze me'eden, river goes out of Eden. This is consciousness speaks, and then splits into four heads. This is the matrix. But when people always we're limiting ourselves, only meeting with certain peoples which are geographically close only, or we just go and spend time with people from work or from this club or the other club, knitting club or golf club or any, it just close and narrowing down more and more into gravity until everything, all options are what? Exhausted. And those conversations are opposite. Just open more and more spaces, opportunities to break the walls of the matrix, to break the walls of the jails that in a way we were concretified inside. Once a baby is born, now it doesn't matter who or she, in which time, to which continent or parents, there's a printing in concrete. This child already, his life are determined by, yes, the circumstances that he is born to, the language, the influence, and so on. So, but this is in a way a deceit, because we tend to believe that this is the only thing that exists. But if there's an openness somewhere, we shall listen, and all the time in a way, not pushing the walls of jail, but it will melt as not existing. Those limitations, so to speak, that we take as concrete reality will melt, because once we are introduced to a different perspective, to a different lifestyle, to the fact that it's even optional, everything is melting in a way. The old order is melting, is falling. There is a beautiful perspective of one person someone who were born in Europe in certain conditions. This is education, this is the season, and for a few years he went to live in Asia, and like East Asia, and there is completely different life. The weather is completely different on the equator. There's no much season, and people are very different. And he says that when he was in Europe, he always felt that there is life out there. And he feels that he senses that there is life, but where is life? Everything is so like rigid and determined in laws. And once when he moved to Asia and lived next to the equator for several years, he sensed that it's completely different. So once there's a shift of different perspective and people living quite well, but completely different. So what used to be the divine law of this is forbidden and this is allowed and this is you will judge, it did not exist at all in Asia. So in this particular state, so this completely melted in a way the jail, in a way the first jail. And so this is quite interesting. How when we are just a bit open to another possibility, to another language, to another way of thinking, it in a way this option of being open almost automatically melts the former prison, and it's beautiful. Happy to see you here, Ogbay, Abigail, Felipe, Rodrigo, Fernando. Thank you so much. There's like in a way we need all the time, like breathing needs new fresh air. This is the fresh perspective all the time, fresh perspective, and it's like a new birth all the time. It's not like it's a new birth, because the opposite will be that I know it's again the same story, the same government, the same neighbor, nothing changed, and people are just in a way falling into gravity, and everything is dimming down, being narrowed down. And there's but also another option. Questions? So again, a king, we tend to translate, let's say, melech in Hebrew to a king in English, and we say king, we think about image of someone wearing crown, like walking with a garment, but a king is in a way consciousness, because there's a beautiful saying in Hebrew that says he was, he is, and he will be. It's not so much about he or, because it's not about entity, it's about infinite, and consciousness is always, it is always. We tend to look at it as a past, a present, and future, but it's always what there is, consciousness. Questions? In a way, interesting, because there is a part in which Moses says that they will not crown themselves with earthly king, and because this earthly king will return them to Egypt, the world of duality. Because when there's earthly king, so there's a king and there's the people, there are two. So again, this is the concept of Egypt, not as Egypt as a physical, geographical place. Yes? Don't crown yourself with earthly human king. Because there's only consciousness, and consciousness speaks through infinite, through people, through the creation, through the waves, through everything, because it emanates life. Not closing it down, so to speak, to one. This is when people develop a lot of attachment to a certain person, sometimes in family, sometimes at work, in life, they develop a lot of attachment. This is so dangerous because consciousness is not limited in a form or in time, there is no limitation to consciousness. This is in a way, the antidote to suffering, because suffering comes from attachment. But consciousness has no attachment whatsoever. Is this clear? Would you like to say something, Fernando?
I was just thinking here about some experiences from what I listened from other people and so on, and it is interesting. I think that I can bring an example.
Yes.
These days I was attending a woman.
Yes. Yes, we could hear you, Fernando. Can you unmute?
I don't know why it came to mute.
Yes.
But I was attending this woman, then she was complaining. She was constating, in fact, that for all her life, she complained about money because she passed through difficult times. And her visions was always the lack,
Mm-hmm.
So this was her preconceived. But after like a little conversation, she said like, never lack me nothing. I have everything. Like everything is fine. I can even travel to some place if I wish to take a vacation or something. And it is interesting because sometimes we can try to understand our life through rationality, through numbers, to look at let's say if this woman just look at her account, sometimes she could say, oh, I have some money, it's not lacking. But even through this rationality, we cannot access our limitation. It is a mystery to me, but somehow this consciousness comes only from the insight, from the conversation that brings a new air, a new way to look at things. I know that I did not make myself clear, but sometimes we know something. We know rationality, the concept. I know that I don't know. I know that I have to walk to make some exercises, let's say. But this is not enough to break the jail or something. You need some insight to see that you are a prisoner from an idea or something. I was thinking about this and thinking about the importance of the other, to have a mirror or something, or friendship or whatever, to open this. Just sharing these ideas that was coming.
It is beautiful, this example, Fernando, because like you say, rational, this lady can look at her account and say in rational there's a plus and beautiful plus in her account, but this is not what is breaking the walls. In a way, the brain, this is like, let's say, the cognition or what you can count. This is not what breaks the wall or melts the wall, but a conversation with another one, which is basically in conversation of another person perspective, the heart participate, not the calculated, the rational. And when the heart is participating, and this is again, we go again to the chapter 2 in Genesis, the creation of a woman, again, not biological woman. This is the appearance of conversation. Yes, what we usually read in Genesis 2, the creation of woman, it's not a biological woman. It is enabling space for conversation, for consciousness to appear. Again, consciousness to appear. This is why he says, Hapa'am zot, this time, etzem ma'atzamai, essence of my essence. Flesh from, to this we shall call a woman isha ki mi'ish lukacha. So it is consciousness, but consciousness can appear when the heart is there. Therefore, Adam has to put to sleep to ease his brain activity, to lower it, because the brain is running like a horse. Yes? So Adam is put to sleep in a way to shut this rationality, this calculative frontal activity, the Egyptian brain. So it has to put aside to sit, like to sleep, that it will not bother the heart, because many times the brain activity comes as a wall in front of the heart. Therefore, in Genesis 2, this ability of Adam is put aside to sleep, and then there's a space that consciousness can appear, because when the brain, like Fernando mentioned, the rational, always rational, running, there's no break, there's no space, all the time process until somebody gets something, gets sick or something. But here Adam is put to sleep, and then consciousness, there's a space, and there's a space even to a new creation which is present. This is why it says from the side. She was taken from the side. What does it mean from the side? From the present. Yes? From participation. It's not from an idea. Yes? The consciousness is something that participates. It's not just mechanical, mental activity of the brain. It's quite interesting. And like you say, Fernando, when there's a stress, we can take a walk. Yes, in nature, next to the ocean, in the park. But the only thing that can, in a way, unjail us or unchain us is this a conversation with another friend. And it doesn't matter about what, about a movie, about a song, about daily happening in the office, in the park with children. It doesn't matter. It's just a participation. This is what it does, because in the rational activity of the brain, there is no participation. The machine runs by itself, and it grounds itself. If I can calculate, cogito ergo sum. I can think and can calculate. I don't need anybody next to me. Like people say, I don't need anyone next to me. There's a common say, I don't need anyone. This is what the brain, this is a common lie. Yes? But the only freedom that there is a conversation. This is the only dimension that can set us free. Because it is like with non-doing, you don't need to, like you say, if there are cuffs or shackles when prisoners, let's say, are binded in shackles of metals in prison, and so if to set them free, if it was a movie, you need like tools, yes, to cut off, yes, the shackles, the chain, the metal. But here is non-doing. The conversation itself, by listening to the conversation, by participating, everything is falling by itself. Is what Weinreb says about the consciousness speaks through the language, and by listening, participating, the falling, everything is falling naturally, just the bondage of self just melt, does not exist, because, like you said, Fernando, there's a different higher reality than the one that we usually adopted. This is my story, this is my narrative, and so it just does not exist, because something which is always is comes, appears in front, or appears in presence, and all the rest is just does not exist, just melt. Thank you so much for sharing it, Fernando, asking the question, sharing the experience. It is so important.
I thank you, Eti. And this idea of the inner sovereign as consciousness, and I was thinking, like, I was remember that the book of Soher speaks that the Shekinah is present when two are speaking, you know, when people gather.
Yes, yes. This is,
And I was remembering this. I'm sorry, the noise.
it's excellent, because Shekhinah has the same value as 385. Yes? Shekhinah has the same value, as the same pattern. Consciousness speaks.
Amazing. It's the
Yes.
antidote to the nefesh.
Yes,
It is the
antidote. This
antidote.
is it. Yes,
Yes.
yes. Yes, just excellent. Just excellent. Beautifully put. Thank you so much for being with us today. Here, Abigail, Felipe, Rodrigo, Ogbai, Fernando, toda raba. Thank you so much. Shabbat Shalom, and see you as soon as possible on Saturday. Thank you so much. Litraot.